afternoon, everybody. Mr. Proudfoot here, of course, and this afternoon the Brisbane Tolkien Fellowship will be reading excerpts from Tolkien's works to celebrate Tolkien Reading Day. Tolkien Reading Day was first introduced in 2003, and the date of March the 25th was chosen because it coincides with the fall of Sauron in Middle-earth in Tolkien's story The Lord of the Rings. And the 25th of March was chosen because it was felt that this symbolised the change from fear and oppression to a new hope for the future of Middle-earth. And so March the 25th was chosen as Tolkien Reading Day by the Tolkien Society back in 2003. And I'll now hand you over to our next reader.
Hammond Lee. I am Longshanks from the Brisbane Tolkien Fellowship. I would like to start with a reading, a simple phrase, originally spoken in the dark speech of Mordor, but I will translate it for you. It is an inscription on a famous ring. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them in the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. For my main reading, I have chosen some passages from the Unfinished Tales. From the Quest of Erebor. I think they are particularly important today with the Hobbit movie. It is a dialogue between Gandalf and Thorin Oakenshield, which occurred on the way to Bilbo's. I read. Gandalf is speaking. But that was not enough for me. I knew in my heart that Bilbo must go with him, or the whole quest would be a failure. Or, as I say now, far more important events, by the way, would not come to pass. So I had to persuade Thorin to take him. There were many difficulties on the road afterwards, but for me this was the most difficult part of the whole affair. Though I argued with him far into the night after Bilbo had retired, it was not finally settled until early next morning. Thorin was contemptuous and suspicious. "He is soft," he snorted. "Soft as the mud of his shire, and silly. His mother died too soon. You are playing some crooked game of your own, Master Gandalf. I am sure that you have other purposes for helping me." "You are quite right," I said. "If I had no other purposes, I would not be helping you at all. Great as your affairs might be to you, they are only a small strand in the great web. I am concerned with many strands, but that should make my advice more weighty, not less." I spoke at last with great heat. "Listen to me, Thorin Oakenshield," I said. "If this hobbit goes with you, you will succeed. If not, you will fail. A foresight is on me, and I am warning you." "I know your fame," Thorin answered. "I hope it is merited. But this foolish business with your hobbit makes me wonder whether it is foresight that is on you, and you are not crazed rather than forecasting. So many cares may have disordered your wits." "They have certainly seen enough to do so," I said. "And among them I find most exasperatingly a proud dwarf who seeks advice from me without claim on me that I know of, and then rewards me with insolence. Go your own ways, Thorn Oakenshield, if you will, but if you flout my advice you will walk into disaster, and you will get neither counsel nor aid from me until the shadow falls upon you. And curb your pride and greed, or you will fall at the end of whatever path you take, though your hands be filled with gold. He blenched a little at that, but his eyes still smouldered. Do not threaten me, he said. I will use my own judgment in this matter, as in all that concerns me. Do so then, I said. I can say no more, unless it is this. I do not give my love nor trust lightly, Thorn, but I am fond of this hobbit, and wish him well. Treat him well, and you shall have my friendship to the end of your days. I said that without hope of persuading him, but I could have said nothing better. Dwarves understand devotion to friends and gratitude to those who help them. Very well, Thorin said after the last silence. He shall set out with my company if he dares, which I doubt. But if you insist on burdening me with him, you must come too and look after your darling. Good, I answered. I will come and stay with you as long as I can, at least until you have discovered his worth. It proved well in the end, but at the time I was troubled, for I had urgent matters with the White Council on my lands. So it was that the quest of Erebor set out. I do not suppose that when it started, Thorin had any real hope of destroying Smaug. There was no hope, yet it happened. But alas, Thorin did not live to enjoy his triumph or his treasure. Pride and greed overcame him in spite of my warning. But surely, I said, he might have fallen in battle anyway. There would have been an attack of orcs, however generous Thorin had been with his treasure. That is true, said Gandalf. Poor Thorin. He was a great dwarf of a great house, whatever his faults. And though he fell at the end of his journey, it was largely due to him that the kingdom under the mountain was restored, as I desired. But Dane Ironfoot was a worthy successor, and now we hear that he fell fighting before Erebor again. Even while we fought here, I call it a heavy loss, as if it were not a wonder rather than his great age, that he could still wield his axe as mightily as they say he did, standing over the body of King Brand before the gate of Erebor until the darkness fell. It might have gone very differently indeed. The main attack was diverted southward, it is true. And yet, even so, with his far-stretched right hand, Sauron would have done terrible harm in the north while we defended Gondor, if King Brand and King Dane had not stood in his path. When you think of the great battle of Pelennor, do not forget the Battle of Dale. Think of what might have been, dragonfire and savage swords in Eriador. There might be no queen in Gondor today. We might now only hope to return from the victory here to ruin and ash. But that has been averted, because I met Thorin Oakenshield one evening on the edge of spring, not far from Bree. A chance meeting, as we say in Middle-earth. Thank you.